Hey guys, I'm back with a new video. You know, I've been noticing, this channel has slowly been devolving from garbage Minecraft parodies to garbage Attack on Titan videos, and I don't know how to feel about that. Not only did I make 3 Attack on Titan videos in a row a while back, I also plan on making 2 more in the near future, and I just want to say beforehand, I'm sorry. I really am. Now, for the subject at hand, openings. Openings are very important for shows. If presented correctly, they can provide the hype and excitement that is to come at the start of every episode in a series. A good opening usually portrays the general tone of its show masterfully. For example, Anohana's opening presents a nostalgic and melancholic atmosphere that reflects the show's coming-of-age story, that focuses on a group of childhood friends overcoming the trauma left by the death of a friend. Kaguya's love dramatic opening feels jazzy, funky, and also over the top, with all the weaponry and acid trip-like visuals. It accurately portrays the show's rom-com nature. JoJo's Sono Chino Sadame, in both lyrics and presentation, represents the overall story of Phantom Blood, and Jonathan's burning desire for justice after Dio stole almost everything from him. Sometimes the opening is the reason why a show is even memorable in the first place. Like, I remember watching JoJo's about 2 years ago, and I watched the entirety of part 2 in like a day, mainly because I thought the opening, Bloody Stream, was an absolute banger, and I wanted to keep listening to it over and over again with each new episode until I somehow accidentally finished the entire part. Openings can be that important, and can play a vital part on how a viewer perceives a show. Now, how does Attack on Titan fare with its openings? Let's find out. For this video, I'll be giving 2 ratings for each opening. One will be for the actual opening itself, the one that you see when you watch the show, including the song and the visuals, and the second will be for the full song for each opening. Now, let's start with Attack on Titan's first opening. Attack on Titan's first opening, Gurren no Yumiya, by Linked Horizon, needs no introduction. Even people who haven't even seen the show, scratch that, people who don't even watch anime have heard and can recognize this song. It's that iconic. And personally, I think it completely deserves every bit of fame and recognition that the opening has. The opening starts with that iconic German phrase of "Are you the food? No, we're the hunters," that is known by so many people, including those who haven't seen the show, as stated previously. This is followed by a wide shot of all the main characters, minus Marco and the currently irrelevant duo, looking depressed and bloody. I really love this shot because the main emotional tone of Season 1 is just pure hopelessness and dread, from the threat of the Titans, and seeing everyone look so upset and covered in darkness and blood perfectly captures the tone. The following shots show various Titans, including the Colossal, looking very intimidating as the music builds up to its main chorus. Once the main chorus hits, everything changes. The color palette of the opening changes from a depressing gray to a brighter color scheme, as the opening sings about rebelling against the cage and seeking freedom, which again, accurately reflects the tone of Season 1, as the tone turns from a more hopeful outlook when Eren transforms into the Attack Titan for the first time, turning the tide of the battle in Trost. I really like seeing small visual things like this. It's cool. And the song itself, when the main chorus hits, it's just so good. While it's not my personal favorite of the opening, it's definitely up there, especially the build-up to the famous Jaeger part as Eren slices the nape of the Titan. That part is just pure art, 100%. Then, right before the opening finishes, they have the guitar riffs playing, along with a rapid montage of panels from the manga. That part always got me hyped for the episode as well. Overall, Gurren no Yumiya is a masterfully made opening, both music-wise and especially visually. I'd give it a final score of 9 out of 10. As for the full version of Gurren no Yumiya, my opinions on it are a little bit different than those for the opening. I find the second verse of the song, the part that plays right after the anime opening finishes, to be kind of weak. It just doesn't impact me in any way, unlike the first verse and the main chorus of the song, which got me very excited. It's not bad in any way, it's just weaker overall. The following third verse of the song is better than the second verse in my opinion, simply because I find it catchier and the background chorus just makes it so much cooler. Not only that, but to me the third verse sounds similar to opening 3, Sasageo. If the similarity was intentional, then that is just an absolute genius callback to the first opening, and I must commend Linked Horizon for that. Here, I'll play a tiny bit of both the third verse and opening 3, so you can compare the two yourself. After the third verse, there's a tiny little interlude where the singer starts speaking in aggressive German, and it's alright, I guess. Again, not the best, but by no means is this part bad in any way. The main chorus is then played once more, albeit with slightly different lyrics, and then the song finishes off with the guitar portion heard in the anime opening. Compared to the other songs used for other anime openings, the full version of Gurren no Yumiya is, in my opinion, much weaker than the others. But I must state this yet again, I do not hate this song. It's just that I prefer the others a lot more. Please don't kill me. With that being said, my final score for Gurren no Yumiya is an 8 out of 10. Now, for opening number 2. Used for the second half of the first season, Jiyo no Tsubasa by Linked Horizon is the second opening of the series. Much less recognized than the song that it replaced, Opening 2 is not talked about that much nowadays. The opening is sadly not remembered or simply not cared about by many, which is unfortunate, since I really enjoyed this one. Although I will admit, I personally did not enjoy this opening the first time I viewed it. It's the type that slowly grows on you the more you watch and listen to it. The opening starts with a German chant, similar to Gurren no Yumiya, but instead of sounding hype and exciting, it sounds almost patriotic? Yeah, I swear, parts of this opening straight up sound like a national anthem for a country, but I have no issues with that. It gives the opening its own unique identity. After the German intro, we see the main characters appearing in quick succession. Reiner, Bertolt, and Annie are all staring to the left, while everyone else is staring to the right, which is a cool little detail that most people probably didn't pick up the first time they watched this. The pre-chorus for this song is overall pretty weak in my opinion. The song doesn't really hit you until you get to the main chorus. This was especially true for me the first few times I watched the opening. The visuals are also a bit weaker than opening 1, but then again, there's nothing that's outright terrible. After a bunch of shots of the main cast and Titans, the song's main chorus and visuals build up to Squad Levi flying around the forest, which is really cool, along with close-ups of the ODM gear. This is the best part of the opening by far. Just seeing Levi and Squad dead, flying through the air with the song at its musical peak is just very cool and visually satisfying to see. Afterwards, we get another guitar part, similar to opening 1, with a bunch of shots of the attack and female Titans, before the opening finishes. Overall, a good opening, although it's far from my favorite. I really enjoy the visuals and the very patriotic feel that the opening gives. Solid 8.5 out of 10. Now, let's talk about the full version of Jiyo no Tsubasa. First off, let me just say, the second verse of this song is actually god tier. I love it. It's hard to put into words, but I just love the slower pace of the chorus in the background. It gave me chills the first time I heard it. Here's a portion of the second verse, so you can listen to it yourself. After that masterpiece of a second verse, there's a small instrumental portion that I personally enjoy, and after that, a somber remix of Gurren no Yumiya is played for the second chorus. This slower version of opening 1 is very appropriate, especially after finishing season 1, since this part of the song feels like a tribute to all the characters that died so far, like Petra Tree, Half Marco. The final chorus is then played, which is simply the first chorus with different lyrics, and the song then concludes with a ramped up version of the German chorus heard at the start of the song. That's just really awesome to hear. The guitar in it just makes it 10 times better. In conclusion, the full version of Jiyo no Tsubasa is very hot. Go listen to the full thing, please. 9.5 out of 10. Now, it's on to opening 3! Whoa! Shinzo wo Sasageo is the third opening made by Linked Horizon. This opening is incredible. I know I'm very biased, but I just really love this opening. In fact, I started watching this show in the first place because I listened to Sasageo beforehand and thought it was a banger. It's just so good. The visuals, the song, everything. The build-up and first verse of the song is an amazing start to the opening. It gives off a sense of dread and danger as the song slowly builds up in intensity. After showing all of the characters and titans, the opening focuses on Historia and Ymir, which is appropriate considering that the two are arguably the most important characters of Season 2. After that, we get close-ups of Titans and the ODM gear, which I really like because it feels like a callback to the previous two openings. Heck, this entire opening feels like it takes the best elements and tone of the previous two openings. Gurren no Yumiya and its hype, and Gyo no Tsubasa and its patriotic feel. It just combines the two. The song builds up, and right before the main chorus, you see all of the main characters looking cool at the top of the wall, and it's just by far one of my favorite parts of any opening, period. Seeing the main cast jump off to confront the Titans, followed by a shot of the soldiers saluting, while the song patriotically sings Sasageo, just gives me chills. The visuals, especially in the second half of the opening, it's just glorious, man. When the main chorus hits, the animation of the Survey Corps on horseback, taking on the colossal and armored Titans, it just becomes so fluid, it's so detailed and beautiful. Mikasa flies towards Eren, he transforms to fight the armored Titan. After this, various images begin to flash, some featuring animals with their hearts shown, and the others showing events that are going to happen in Season 2. Some of these events include Ymir's transformation, Zeke killing Mike, Sasha's confrontation with the Titan in Episode 2, and then the next shot shows the Beast Titan and various animals crushing people below with their hearts shown, as the chorus of the song builds up until the opening finishes. In conclusion, this opening is a masterpiece that should be put in a museum. 10 out of 10, quite possibly one of my favorite openings of all time. As for the full version of Sasageo, it more or less has the same consistency of the anime opening. After repeating the main chorus, the song goes into its second and third verses. The next verses have a similar vibe to opening 1's midsection, although I would personally say Sasageo's mid-verses are immensely superior to Gurren no Yumiya. The third verse ends with a nice little nod to Gyo no Tsubasa before going into an instrumental portion. Overall, I found Gyo no Tsubasa's instrumental portion to be the best out of all of the Linked Horizon songs, but Sasageo comes very close, especially with its piano portion near the end. That was really catchy. Similar to opening 2, the instrumental portion is followed by a slower remix of Gurren no Yumiya. But while opening 2's version felt more of a memorial for the dead characters, opening 3's remix feels more patriotic than somber. After that, a slower version of the main chorus is played for the final part of the song. This final chorus is dramatic and slow at first, but then it slowly becomes more and more faster paced, and it's just an amazing and brilliant way to conclude such a masterfully made song. I will simp for this opening and song until the end of time. 9.5 out of 10. Red Swan is the first opening of Season 3, and right off the bat, you can tell something is different about this opening. First off, this opening is made by Yoshiki, instead of Linked Horizon, the first opening that is not made by them. And not only that, the overall visuals and tone of the song are vastly different from the previous 3 openings. This opening is a bit controversial with some of the fans in the community, with many claiming it's the worst of the bunch and that the song doesn't fit the general tone of the show. However, I heavily disagree with that sentiment. The main theme of Red Swan is the loss of innocence. This is evident within the lyrics and the imagery, with the biggest example being the fact that they show all the main characters as children. The theme of losing one's innocence is very appropriate for Season 3's opening, as this was when the main characters start to uncover all the mysteries of the world, and the show begins to take an even darker turn, with the happiness and innocence of the main characters slowly leaving and sort of never returning. And because of that, I think Red Swan is genius and completely tone appropriate. Now, after that little rant, let's talk about the actual opening itself. As stated before, The imagery of this opening is completely different from the past openings. The visuals are overall much brighter, and it has a heavy emphasis of these beautiful illustrations of the characters. These illustrations are really freaking cool, and as an added plus for me personally, I learned that the person who made these, Miyako Hosoi, I'm sorry if I butchered that name, was the same person who made the art for Your Lie in April's Hikaru Nara, straight up one of the best openings of all time in my opinion, and that just makes Red Swan a whole lot cooler for me. The song itself is also really good, with a mix of English and Japanese lyrics giving Red Swan an even more unique identity from its predecessors. The chorus of the main song is just beautiful. Straight up almost made me tear up the first time I heard it. Seeing Child Eren and the current Season 3 Eren next to each other while the music slowly begins to pick up was so depressing, as the song shows the main characters running through the streets with massive smiles on their faces. Followed with a few shots of Erwin, Levi, Historia, and the warriors as kids, the opening ends with this illustration of the main trio that just feels so nostalgic and pure. I truly do not understand the hate for Red Swan. I love the visuals, the music, and especially the final 20 or so seconds of this opening. It's really amazing, and it definitely stands out from the previous Linked Horizon ones, but there's literally nothing wrong with that at all. I'd give the opening a final score of 9.5 out of 10. As for the full song, I would argue it gets even better the more it goes on. The second verse of the song slows down the pace, and it's also completely in English, which is neat. After the second verse, there's a guitar portion similar to openings 1 and 2, but I'm gonna be honest, Red Swan's guitar portion trumps all the other openings. I just find the guitar to be so emotional and depressing. It felt very nostalgic, like it's remembering the happier, better times of the past. After that, the final chorus plays, which was a remix of the first chorus with some additional portions added for the grand finale. I feel like I'm repeating myself at this point, but like, jeez, this final portion, it just feels so emotionally powerful. When the singer starts singing about finding a way and seeing the end, I just felt goosebumps. In conclusion, please also listen to the full version of Red Swan. It's very emotional, and the guitar portion and the final chorus are amazing. The full version of Red Swan gets a 10 out of 10 easily.
Der Weg der Sehnsucht und die Leichen.
Up next is the second opening of Season 3, Shoke to Shikibane no Michi by Linked Horizon. And because I don't want to keep butchering that super long name like an idiot, I'll be referring to this opening as just Opening 5 from this point forward, even when reviewing the full song. Opening 5 has this grand feel towards it, the feeling of culmination, everything coming together for a finale. This can be supported by the fact that literally every opening made by Linked Horizon is referenced and heard in this opening. Gurren no Yumiya, Jiyo no Tsubasa, Shinzo wo Sasageo, and Season 3's ending song, Akatsuki no Requiem, are all present in some capacity. I really love this, as it's not only really cool for the viewer, it's also appropriate with the show's tone during Season 3 Part 2. The return to Shiganshina arc is the culmination and build-up of everything that's happened so far in the story, with the goal of reaching the basement finally about to be fulfilled after 3 seasons. And it's also the final arc in the story before the time skip. So once again, the opening's tone really complements and understands the general tone of the show. Opening 5 starts off with a bang as the intro begins to play. It has the same exact melody as Gurren no Yumiya. The first verse of the song is then played as you see a bunch of characters and events of the 3rd season play out, but it's all out of context. For me personally, I found the first verse to be pretty weak at the start, but as it goes on, it becomes more and more intoxicating and thrilling. When the first verse reaches its climactic peak, it quickly begins to slow down as we see the Beast Titan hurl some stones in slow motion at the scouts. The singer, in a deep and menacing voice, begins to question what someone is willing to sacrifice to make their dreams come true. I really love this portion of the opening, as the visuals and lyrics heavily foreshadow and reference Erwin's entire character and actions in just a few seconds. The lyrics ask what one would offer to make a dream come true, followed by a warning to make way for the path of corpses. Erwin sacrificed his life and the lives of the recruits to make sure his dream of learning about the outside world come to fruition. If the lyrics weren't obvious enough, the shots accompanying this is literally the charge Erwin does against the Beast Titan. After this, the pre-chorus begins to play as we see Eren punching Reiner in slow motion, which is just so cool and satisfying to watch. After this, the scouts are shown flying through the air with an emphasis on the brand new Thunder Spears. Mikasa fires off a Thunder Spear as the opening goes into its main chorus, which is also the best part of the opening by far. The main chorus begins with the main melody of Gurren no Yumiya as the scouts fly in the air, in a similar manner to the first opening. This is followed with the beginning of Jiyo no Tsubasa being played, as Levi is seen flying through the air in a similar manner to the second opening. The main melody of Sasageo is heard next as the hearts of the scouts and Beast Titan are shown for a brief second, which is a direct reference to opening 3's visuals. And this is lastly followed with an Akatsuki no Requiem portion as a close-up of Historia is shown while the singer sings the word Requiem out loud. The opening then shows an Erwin close-up standing amongst the dead scouts, and this is then followed with the Survey Corps symbol turning into birds, another reference to opening 2. The singer urges someone to keep moving forward as the melody of Gurren no Yumiya is heard playing in the background. The opening then begins to visually reverse as the events seen in the opening are then played backwards until it ends with a looming shot of the basement. Despite having a slow start, it picks up immensely, and the peak of opening 5 is just so amazing. Link Horizon literally pulled a Smash Ultimate and went, every opening is here, minus Red Swan, unfortunately. I also want to quickly talk about the visuals. I just love a lot of the tiny details of this opening. The green filter that's used, the little splashes of color used for names, and how the opening transitions to each new scene with brief flashes of important locations from the series. These include Wall Rose, the Gate of Shiganshina, and the lake that was seen by Eren, Armin, Reiner, and Bertolt in episode 3. In conclusion, I'd give Shoukei to Shikibani no Michi a 9.7 out of 10. Very solid opening. Now for the full version of the song. After the first verse is over, the second verse is played, which is nearly identical to verse 1 with some changed lyrics. The third verse is then played, and it turns into a completely different song. The childlike voices from Akatsuki no Requiem make a return, and they turn it into a very haunting and unsettling piece, and I like it. It sounds like a reflection of all the death that has occurred in this series. Soon, the lead singer joins in, and they begin to sing about how the price of freedom is death. It's a really good part, and it's hard to put into words, but it's like the voices are dancing or something. You know what, actually, I'm terrible at describing this, so I'll just play a bit for you guys so you get what I'm trying to say. After this is a decent guitar portion accompanied by sounds of machine gun fire and explosions. A nice little bit of foreshadowing, and the song goes into its pre-chorus. The main chorus is played and the song ends in the same way as the opening, but this time the song ends with a door slam, which is a neat little nod to the basement door. Overall, a solid song. It doesn't really add as many new sections compared to the previous openings, but the new portions that are there are really good. 9.5 out of 10. Now on to the last opening for this video. The opening used for the final season, My War, made by Shinsei Kamata-chan, is the last opening I'll be covering for this video. This opening is truly something else. It is completely different from all of the previous openings. The visuals, with its bleak grey tone with brief explosions of color, along with the actual song, it's just so foreign when it comes to Attack on Titan openings, and I would argue it's even more so than Red Swan. And just like Red Swan, being very different from all the other openings is not a bad thing at all. Far from it, the opening immediately starts with a tone of unease, with the beginning piano portion feeling very ominous. This is followed with an explosion as the song goes into its introduction portion. The introduction portion of the song is such a bop. It's so catchy, and it's also used as a counter melody for the later main chorus of the song, and I just love everything about it. Another cool thing about the introduction portion is that the lyrics are complete gibberish. They literally mean nothing, and yet it sounds so good, and it's such an effective piece of music. The opening itself starts with scenes of warfare, explosions, mortars being fired, a naval fleet getting bombarded with colorful explosions. It's all a far cry from the previous openings, which usually began with shots of the characters and titans. The opening then shows a bunch of birds descending as a catchy violin plays in the background. A bunch of colorful smoke then covers the screen as the song goes into its first verse. As the singer wraps up the verse by whispering to the viewer, "This is my last war," the introduction melody is played once more as the song goes into its main chorus. The scene transitions to show a bunch of Marley soldiers march in formation, as the visuals switch to the Survey Corps airship. This is followed by a bunch of quick shots. Marley soldiers, a Titan, an airship, and Survey Corps members all explode in quick succession. It's a great way to illustrate the chaos of war in an opening. After this, various locations are shown exploding, including Marley and the walls, which is some neat little foreshadowing. Speaking of foreshadowing, I'd like to talk about a certain line from the song. Children cling on to their very last coins. This line is so dark and messed up for the manga readers watching, and this little bit of foreshadowing is another reason to just really love this opening. The outro begins to play next as the camera pans onto a pile of corpses while the singer chants "war." This shot was powerful to watch, especially when I watched it for the first time, because it gave me a sense of dread. I essentially thought, oh god, there's a lot of dead bodies. People are going to be dropping like flies, aren't they? It left me in a state of panic. Who's gonna die? Are my favorite characters gonna be safe? And it turns out, my suspicions were correct in the end. Rest in peace, Queen. After this, the camera zooms in onto Eren's attack titan. It looks more menacing than ever, and as the camera zooms in closer onto Eren's attack titan, as the singer sings Verastis, the opening comes to a quick end. This opening is hot. In fact, it's so hot, I literally made 2 videos that were about this in the past. If that wasn't enough evidence to prove that I love My War, then surely my little 2-minute gush over this opening did. 9.5 out of 10. Now it's time to talk about the full version of My War. The second verse and chorus are nearly identical to the first, which is not an issue, but the real star of the full song is the third verse. The third verse has the singer, Noko, singing in a higher, childlike voice, which really creates this unsettling atmosphere. This eventually builds up to the final chorus of the song. This final chorus essentially combines all 3 of the melodies of My War into one last segment. The introduction portion, the main chorus, and the childlike voice portion are all played at the same time to create an amazing finale for the song. It's such a great way to end this song. After the final chorus, the outro that is heard from the opening is repeated, and the full song ends in the exact same way. Overall, a good song. I really enjoy the third verse and final chorus, and just because of that, I'm giving the full version of My War a 9.5 out of 10. Very catchy song that manages to stand out the most out of all the songs that I have reviewed today. And with that, I have finished this very terrible review. As you can probably tell from my scores, I enjoy every Attack on Titan opening immensely. They're all good, and you should give them all a listen. Now, for those of you who made it to the end, I'd like to thank you for watching this. This was probably my biggest and most ambitious YouTube project yet, so I'd like to apologize if the editing and voiceover were not as good as you expected. But regardless, I hope you enjoyed my video to some extent. Thanks for watching again, and I'll see you guys later. Adios.